Come now, all you mangy dogs. Swab the decks and hoist the sails. The guns on board be needing some proper manning. Pieces of 8 and a fine wench on your arm. If your work be not too shoddy. Careful not to flounder too badly, though, or you may have to dance the hempen jig as we see you to Davy Jones. Jeffy, my boy, on with the show.
Welcome, everybody, friends, folks, foes, and fellow pirate mateys, to our latest live streaming edition of Pirate Radio Podcasts. It's episode number 346 with Nick from Hayes Reviews. I myself, of course, am your host, as always, the Robin Hood's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. Before we get to Nick and all of his particulars, let us remind you that WPRPN.com is a website you'll want to drop by, take a look at, sign up as free. All you simply need is a username, password, and email. From there, everything should be pretty much straightforward. If you do happen to run into any problems along the way, do not hesitate in getting back to us via our main email address, pirate1radio@protonmail.com. That's pirate, the numeral 1radio@protonmail.com. Take whatever steps are necessary, helping smooth things over, get you sailing off in just the sort of direction you hope to be. Pirate1radio@protonmail.com also is what you'll want to take note of if you have any PayPal donations you'd like to send our way. Always appreciated. We really depend on them too, folks. Or for that matter, show suggestions or guest ideas that you'd like to see us take a look at. We have merchandise up for grabs via places including galacticfire.com, t-shirts, coffee mugs, and the like. We have a Patreon presence. Digital love is always appreciated, so on and so forth. Just take a look at the show description end of things and engage at your will as you see fit, obviously. So if all else fails and you do dig what we do here, be sure to hit the like, subscription notification buttons. Remember to share and leave those comments. That's how we manage to stand out a little more as far as algorithms are concerned, when they're not suppressing us or anyone else, of course, with the whole shadow banning business and whatnot, which we might get into a little bit here with Nick over the course of this week's show. Finally, friends, family, and coworkers, passing word along to them, letting them know what it is we got going on down here in Skullport Harbor. That's powerful, synergetic energy there, folks. Make the most of it. So, Nick, out of via Hayes Reviews, out of the UK, born and raised in England, 38 years old, moved to Southeast Asia to teach English for 6 years before returning back to the UK. Now married with a child on the way. His current project is Hayes Reviews, where he live streams his analysis of interesting out-of-print, overlooked books regarding globalism, eugenics, Fabian, socialism, conspiracy, New World Order, one world government, and hidden history. So there's a little something more we're going to add to that, actually. Yes, indeed. Here we go. Blissfully ignorant before lockdown. Subsequent widespread censorship led Nick to become slightly obsessed with collecting books. Hay Reviews is currently reading a publication via Vernon Coleman every Friday at 6 p.m. UK time on YouTube, Rumble, and Odysee. That's where you can find him live streaming. As always, be ready to connect live with your most pressing questions, thoughts, and comments. What would that make it South Korea time here Nick, and other places around the world. And by the way, thank you for taking that time, making the effort. I know it's a pretty early morning start via the UK, about 4 a.m. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. 20 past 4 in the morning.
Oh Jesus! Well, that's perfect. Smoke them if you got them. So, or I guess, or praise Hitler if that's your thing. 420, of course, right? So, or maybe you don't. I don't know. Presumably,
I'm just going with a nice cup of English breakfast tea. I think 4:20 is early enough for breakfast.
that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. So, make sure you get up nice and close to the mic. Eat the mic. We'll get you on camera here shortly. We've just got the slideshow making the rounds, and we did add a lot of not only what you shared with us, but what we could find via DuckDuckGo. To hell with Google, they've got issues. Um, uh, and Fahrenheit 9, well, might as well be 9/11. Fahrenheit 451. I'm not sure if that's a book you've reviewed yet or not, but something that very much you hit on the censorship theme right off the bat, and immediately myself, and I'm sure many others, could not help but start thinking of the Ray Bradbury classic for Fahrenheit 451. So we added a healthy dose of those related pictures and memes or what have you to the slideshow as well. So, is it a book you're familiar with or that you've covered? Yep, to this point.
I haven't covered it. I am aware of it. I know the what it's famous for, but I haven't read it, and I haven't covered it on the channel. By way of dystopian novels, I've talked about Brave New World and also We by Yevgeny Zamyatin. And I did both of those conversations with wonderful Melissa from Cutting Through the Matrix.
Uh huh.
And I also, we discussed Brave New World Revisited,
Oh
which was
God,
Aldous Huxley's retrospective, I think 20 years after the
you
publication of Brave New
bet.
World.
That
And
is
that book is
so. You
very
bet.
eye opening.
We're on the same wavelength there, you and I, for sure. So, I used to have a copy of that, one of the original uh, releases. Essentially, it was a classic. I had to abandon it back in Canada, but the only way I managed to uh, find it here, actually, in any form, was in PDF format, actually, through the interwebs. A friend helped me out with that. So you've covered that with Melissa, have you? Brave New World Revisited.
Yes, yes, we did
Brilliant.
because I got into her book club. She's running a book club with two other people, and the first book that we studied in the book club was Tragedy and Hope,
Carol
which is
Quigley.
quite
That's right.
a book to start with. You know,
Yeah.
1,300-page epic history of the banking cartel that has
Mm-hmm.
taken over the world, or is trying to. And during the course of the conversations in that group, I let it slip that I hadn't read Animal Farm. And so Melissa said, "Okay, Nick, you got to read Animal Farm. We'll get on a call together and talk about that." And then we had a good time, and we went from there to cover Brave New World Revisited, and uh, and the next one we're going to do is Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. So we're hitting all the dystopian novels one by one.
Jeez. Wow. And it's so important. You mentioned now a lot of people might not know who Melissa is. We briefly actually I brought her up in the pre-interview end of things, the audio tech portion, and the fact of how she, I guess, had been a friend of the late great Alan Watt, host of Cutting Through the Matrix, someone whose shows thankfully still are freely and quite easily accessible and available via the interweb. So, folks, if for those of you out there listening who are not familiar with the work of Alan Watt, not to be confused with the psychedelic Eastern philosophy uh, inspired guru of the 60s, Alan Watts, two separate people. And I'm not even sure if Alan Watt was his real name, but he lived in Ontario, and him and his dog Hamish had this great show. Hamish was his little sidekick and mascot, and I even got to thinking that maybe he lost Hamish before he passed away, and quite possibly it led to just further heartbreak. And I'm not I'm not sure how Scotsmen, proud Scotsmen process grief, but uh, many of us pet owners, we just have that bond, of course, and it hits us pretty hard when we do lose pets. So,
Mhm.
yeah, cutting through the matrix, a show that you just came to know about in the last couple of years. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. And and I can just minor sort of correction there. The Melissa was actually Alan Watt's wife,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, so
Oh,
they
I
she's
did. I
Miss
did.
Melissa Watt,
Oh my
and
God. So there we
she
go.
was working behind the scenes with him, helping him prepare shows and read articles and do research and annotate
Brilliant.
books, choosing passages to read, and
Oh,
kind of on that ride with him. And she talks publicly about her story and how she came to hear of him by way of a yoga instructor who introduced her to Alex Jones, and then she found Alan Watt, and they struck up a uh,
friendship.
back and forth
Yeah.
by email, and it went on from there. And yeah, and she's now curating his
Oh.
website, keeping it alive, up and running. She is running a YouTube channel, BitChute, Rumble, and Odysee, where she
Mm-hmm.
publishes reduxes of his shows on Sundays with her own introductions and explanatory kind of commentary.
Right. They'd only been married a couple of years then before he passed away, I guess. You have no idea because, well,
I'm not sure exactly of the timeline,
yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
yeah.
when I discovered Alan Watts, I was blown away by the
Mm-hmm.
quality of his work. Really good.
Right. Yeah. And that's we're going to get into the whole Chatham House business, which you covered in relation, starting with what really caught my eye, the former head of the Bank of England, and now the latest appointee in so far as Canadian prime ministers are concerned, Mark Carney, and what a scam that election was. Well, oh, by the way, is that the sort of thing that YouTube will take us down for? Is it only have they changed their policy, kind of lightened up a little bit as far as allowing more free speech? Free speech, wrong think. You have the right to be wrong, or what exactly? Was it just the one election that they're hypersensitive about as far as 2020's U.S. presidential election. So, uh, but just before we get into that, nobody really knows how he passed away. Although you did seem to provide the obviously, if you've been told not to provide any precise or further detail than what you shared with me. I'm assuming that I'll let you flesh it out in the clearest way possible, and then just leave it at that. I suppose probably won't press any further. But I and the reason I'm so curious about this is because there was such little said about his sudden demise, which caught a lot of people off guard, and the fact that it wasn't a targeted assassination per se, although there was a potential kill shot involved, not via bullets, but ironically, the very sort of thing that he warned us against. Uh, and I'm alluding to Bertrand Russell, of course, that through injunction. There's a third one I always forget, but that was essentially their game plan as far as their what the
Was
powers that
Diet
be.
the third one? Was it Diet
Yes,
perhaps?
yes, yes. Injection, diet. Correct. I think you're right. Exactly. My God. And look at what RFK Jr. is doing now in America, making America healthy again. We could stand to make Asia healthy again. There's no doubt about that. So, but what details can you, in good conscience, provide us with? I mean, maybe it's just it's left to the realm of speculation with so much. And this is someone that we really. I sent $100 to Alan back in the day,
Mhm.
and because of the great work that he had done over the years. I really respected and admired him. So as a lot many did, and
Yeah,
it was a great loss. It was a huge loss.
absolutely. And I'm very sort of sad that I wasn't aware of his work while he was alive, and I couldn't have spoken to him or got in touch with him or sent him some, you know, thanks or a message of support or just some words from the heart to express my appreciation. So that's sad, but I'm very grateful now that I get to work with Melissa and have a good relationship with her. We speak regularly to plan our shows and record videos together, and she's a really diligent, working, um, like successor. I don't know if success is the right word exactly, but she's keeping the message going in a
Right.
great way. She's doing her own interviews and she's adding her own stories and introductions, as I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, and so it,
Yeah.
it really adds a new dimension to Alan's work. And so, with regards to his death, I actually don't know a lot of detail. Um, she did release a four-part series entitled Fortitude, which is published on the Alan Watt CTTM YouTube channel and the other places where she publishes the videos, and that goes over some of this, explaining why she decided to talk publicly using her name and her intentions for his work going forward and his channels. And she gives a little insight there, addresses some, I think, of the rumors and the communications that she received and that Alan had received um, around that time. What I do know is that
You're talking threats, or what exactly you mean by communication? Was he? There were attempts. He talked about attempts on the part of the powers that be, essentially, to recruit him, and that he, he was not interested. Did we lose you?
really,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. There's of course a lot that you probably don't know that others such as myself do, because we've listened to a lot of his blurbs, and anything that's come our way, we've tried to glean and intuit. I believe
yes.
yeah. So, um, what are you talking about? There were threats. Are you yes? Is that public now? Anything that's public domain or public that's been put out to the public, we can freely discuss,
Mhm.
obviously, and anything that's I know that people share with us in um, confidence. We as aspiring independent underground journalists, clearly, reputation is sacrosanct. These big $10 words. It's most important to that we have to do what we can to maintain a quality reputation, defend it, and so forth. So we don't want to be. What is it that they talk about with the confidentiality? Basically, so similar with the way with
Mhm.
medical practitioners. I suppose we're just practitioners of independent media when it comes right down to it. Postmodern independent digital media. We're practicing, working on every day upping our game. So, is there anything more you can add to that, though? I know you had talked about that in order to travel. Can we get into that with and the kill shot that from what you
Yeah, that's basically all I'd heard. It was
okay,
that he
stomach
was having to
problems
travel as part of his previous job,
as a
and
touring musician.
he was required. Yeah, he was a musician,
Yeah.
and he was required to take some sort of injection, and it had a bad reaction from it, and it led to difficulty with in his hands, arthritis,
Hmm.
and some other issues that I think were sort of he was long suffering um, under these issues that came as a result of that injection, and he was aware that it was caused by that specific injection that he had to take in order to go on tour and travel to this country. And fortunately, I don't know any more details than that, I'm afraid. But that's part
No,
of this.
that's
That could have been part of what happened. Yeah.
sh- absolutely. Thank you so much, and we'll leave it at that. Uh, and let there's more detective work that could be done, I suppose. But we had military intelligence kind of super soldier, black ops friend of ours. That's just
Oh
his
yeah.
job, folks. He that's his job, and that's the life he's chosen for himself. So, but he seemed to think that it was part of the Great Reset. That he had been actually targeted, which I can see from the standpoint of what we have, because when you have these valued assets, as it were, that
Mhm.
the the powers that be are wanting to neutralize or eliminate, what just exactly as Bertrand Russell put it: injection, injunction, and diet. So
Well, you got to look at the timing of things as well, right? Because, for example, Carrie Mullis, the inventor of the PCR test, he died very conveniently right before the whole world was locked down, and he wasn't here to speak out against the improper use of his invention to diagnose diseases when he was on record saying it should not be used to diagnose diseases. And so the timing of these things always raises eyebrows and I think makes attention. And I know that during lockdowns, Alan's output massively increased, and some shows were reaching 4 hours in length. Right?
well, that's right before he passed. I think he knew that his time was limited, and that's why he did that. So let me just add that
Hmm.
not only Carrie Mullis, absolutely, that's one of the reasons we have his particular item regarding him and his legacy, and that the PCR test is not to be used as a diagnostic tool. People, that's straight from the
Yeah.
horse's mouth. The Nobel Prize winning recipient in the field of medicine. So I mean, uh, yet the same people that are now going for these ostriches in Canada because of the powerful antigens allegedly is what is. I mean, Alan would have had a field day with this ostrich story. Uh, that they're trying to cull now, and that's, I think, there's where the word kill comes from. Cull. Interestingly, in Korea here, the word for knife, kal, kal, kal.
Right.
Oh, there's so much with the Sanskrit and the English
Well,
and the
actually,
Korean. It's mind
yeah, just
blowing.
on the topic of career, I lived
Hmm.
there for a year. It was my first year
Oh yeah,
living abroad teaching
right,
English,
right, right.
and I
What
remember
what what
learning
year? What year?
to read Korean, which is surprisingly easy. What
It's
year?
phonetically based, isn't it? It's like and 85% of it matches with the English alphabet, right? And you
Yeah,
know
and
what?
so I
Most Koreans
was
don't even know
reading a
this.
menu to
Yeah,
place an
yeah,
order for a
yeah,
pizza,
yeah.
and I was sounding out the
Pizza,
words, and I read it,
computer. Yeah,
combination pizza,
yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah,
and it
yeah,
just
yeah.
gave me a good chuckle.
Sh- Me too, as you probably heard. So that's right. So it never fails to what's even more uh, kind of sad and ironic is that I'm here having to point out to Koreans who are studying English because there's hardly any of them who this seems to have they've connected the dots. I'm not sure what it is. Just the way that, like with Brzezinski, the way he talked about humanity would have to be schooled in pretty much everything, that on their own it would get to the point where they would not be able to think independently and engage in even the slightest degree of basic critical thinking skills, asking
Yeah,
simple questions: who, what, where, when, why, how. So the letters, the phonetical uh shapes, I guess, or I guess then you call icons, signifiers, or what they point to. the letters essentially in Korean, the alphabet. Almost 85% of it matches identically with English. A is A, B, B up, C, Kyuk. You know these things. And the kicker is that most Koreans have no idea until some dummy such as myself has to come along and draw this to their attention.
Point it out.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we never thought about that. And these are adults too, not just kids. So, but yeah, yeah, that'd be. Oh, hey. So, where were you? What year and where were you located for that period? Your contract.
So this was going to be, oh my goodness, what year? About 2011, something like that. And
Oh,
I was in Yecheon near Daegu.
I've heard of Daegu, but never Yecheon. So, and
It's a
how
very small city, and it
uh-huh,
didn't have a lot going on.
uh-huh,
It had, I think, 5 of us foreigners living there. They
right.
had 5 schools and one, one foreigner per school as part of the EPIC program
Oh,
to
good old
import
epic.
lots of young students to teach English. And yeah, it was wonderful. It was a very good experience because it wasn't so westernized. There wasn't a lot of English on the signs. So we were going into restaurants and pointing at the pictures, and
Huh,
it was quite a good immersive experience.
sure.
Whereas some people, they'll go live in these countries and just hang out with the foreigners. We didn't really have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep pretty much to myself here. 23 tours of duty. That's what we're looking at here. Yeah, 23
Right.
tours of duty. So, as I like to say, but really, it's so people, are you with the military or what's going on? Then it's like it's like I guess you could say that. It's like I'm a one man wrecking crew, buddy. Uh, Step aside. So yeah, but okay, good stuff. So Alan Watt, South Korea. I'm not sure if there's anything more you want to say about that. I'm just doing a little multitasking here right now, and of course we had some technical issues from the get go, having to quite quickly on the fly in a very impromptu way adapt to this new Jitsi VoIP, voice over internet protocol, folks. If you're wondering, that's what it stands for.
I was
And
wondering. Thank you for clarifying that.
oh, didn't know what VoIP meant? Uh, no, or are you saying that kind of a little facetiously, tongue in cheek?
No, I didn't know. You sent me an email saying the only thing we need is a VoIP, and I was like, "What the hell is a VoIP?" So I had to go on a
Oh,
search engine and look it up and be like,
uh huh.
"VoIP," and actually that voice over internet protocol, I actually found something different.
What
So
different
now
a
I know
different
what you refer to when you say VoIP. So that's great. Yeah, actually, I have to deal with a lot of acronyms in my day job, and it's infuriating. And I haven't got a very good memory for acronyms.
Okay, day job being what exactly? Was it top secret? Like
I'm a risk
MI5?
manager and a consultant, and work in various different industries. But when you're bound, and I get sort of loaned out to various clients, and each client has their own unique set of incomprehensible corporate acronyms that they use to guard their most important corporate secrets. And it's like learning a new language every time.
I guess so. Yeah. So, well, that's fascinating. So, let me get this straight now. Risk assessment analyst? Is that what you just said? Is that what I heard? Or am I making that up now?
Risk management consultant.
Risk management consultant. That was one of the themes that Alan actually talked about, this whole business. And it's a huge industry, as you can imagine. Internet. So, stand by while we take care of a few technical things here behind the scenes. Bloody job Facebook. What exactly? Why it does this? I don't know. Okay, there we go. Done. Uh, all right. Well, and we do have Sonia on board here as well this week. Up in the. Hang on just a
Yep.
second now. Let's just see. We gotta connect with her. In the crow's nest. Our computer. Speaking of connecting, it's unresponsive at the moment. So what is going on? Or maybe this is we got too many buttons that are set up here that are being pressed or pushed. Hang on a second, Sonia. We got to get things just right. Trust me, you'll be happy when this all comes together. So, and how many years have you been involved in that particular field? I guess just the past few, because you were 1 year in Korea and then you off to Japan. Is that right? And is that how you met James, or how did that come about, Mr. Corbett over there in Nippon?
Okay. Yeah, I'll tell a bit about that story. So I didn't actually go to Japan, unfortunately. I did a year in South Korea, then I bounced over to Thailand in Bangkok. I lived
Oh,
there for a
nice.
year. Then after that, I traveled in Malaysia for 6 months, and then I went to Vietnam. My plan was to stay there for a year, but that year ended up being 4 years because I fell in love and met a beautiful woman who I wanted to not leave the country for.
And and this is
And
Thailand,
then
did you say?
we that was Vietnam.
Oh, Vietnam. Okay. All right. All right.
Yes, in the north of Vietnam, in Hanoi City, which is
Uh-huh.
a crazy place, but also wonderful and charming, and has a really unique energy and vibe all of its own.
Oh man. And what's the deal? What's the weed the status of weed via Hanoi? I'm curious. I've heard various
It's
reports.
available, but the you gotta be a bit canny about where and when and with who you partake.
Oh,
But
I
in
see. So
generally, when
it's
I
not.
was there,
Mhm.
if you had a good wad of cash in your back pocket, you could pretty much pay whoever you needed to look the other way.
You're talking the
Aha.
legal authorities. So, okay.
Yes.
And your wife, Vietnamese. Well, that's lovely, man. Congratulations. And you managed to kidnap her, I guess, abscond with her back to the UK. And a child is on the way, is what it sounds like, or has already been born, perhaps.
On the way, we've got about a month left, so
One in
we're
the
going to
other.
be enjoying our final weekends of just being us,
Good stuff.
and then it's go time.
All right. So, now I'm not sure. Yeah, we are connecting to the crow's nest, as listeners may be able to make out. Sonia, have you made it to the top? What vantage
Yeah.
point and
Can you hear
view?
me?
Any view? We sure can. We can hear birds and
Okay.
smell that
Yeah.
the salty sea air. It's quite an
Yeah, it's
adventure.
kind of lonely up here, but I'm used to it.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe not for much longer. Who knows? So, but
Yeah.
any sign of the Kraken?
No, not at all. Not right now.
Beware the technokraken. Beware the hashtag technokraken. There we go. In fact, right in the
I'll,
slideshow as we
Have
I'll
you
speak.
had a
keep
lot
an
of
eye out.
run-ins with the techno kraken before?
Oh, dude! Like we are the most heavily, and for no good reason. People like DK. He's just like this. He's like nonstop, endless naughty words and profanity. He's a real hothead. Doesn't know how to just kick back and have a
Hair
good.
and all.
He just lets it rip. He doesn't give a shit about anything. So, but ourselves, we too many freedom fueled truth bombs, and so both our
Hmm.
Discord accounts or channels gone. We've got Twitch is gone. What the hell else? We've had issues here where
Twitter.
they nearly got kicked us off of Facebook. We've had to provide all kinds of. They want like facial recognition, all kinds of stuff. It's
Ooh,
like,
I opened a Facebook account. I was going to run some ads and got shut down within 2 days. And they wanted me to record a video of my face, and it just felt like a humiliation ritual. You
yeah,
put the
yeah,
phone up and it tells you to nod and move your head left and right and up and down. And I was like, "Fuck that, I'm not doing that."
yeah,
So
yeah.
I went off
Exactly.
Facebook.
We were kind of on the fence with that, and because yeah, it felt like hypocrites, and that we had to cave in, unfortunately, submit to such nonsense, as Alan did, and many others, including
Yeah.
Christian Latoureux, who I don't know. We'll talk. Well, as far as do you have people on your show that now you appear as guests on other people's shows? Do you, other than Melissa, do you ever work with anyone else or have someone as a special feature guest? We have a few that we could
I'm
send your way
starting
potentially.
to go. I'm starting to reach out to authors because the
Right.
whole thing is books. So I
Good.
did an interview with James Corbett about his recently published book, Reportage.
That's right.
And I have a whole 6 post-it note spread in front of me with lists of various authors that I'm looking to get in contact with to interview.
Beautiful.
And just I'm keeping it very book focused. So anyone who's got a book published, I'm kind of
Good.
bearing them in mind. So I got some names. The next
All right.
person I'm looking to speak to is a lady called Teresa Correggio.
Okay.
She has a book called, I think it's called How to Dismantle an Empire.
Ooh.
And yeah, she sent me a
Huh.
PDF of that,
Right.
and I've got a few days to read it. So
E-
that's going to be my
Cool.
homework.
Emmanuel Pastorik. We got a whole list of names just to bounce off you, and you'll obviously just have to decide and discern for yourself. But sure, yeah, that's where, yeah, and that's one of the things that Sonia's been really good in help taking on that mantle, basically coming in and working in the capacity of co-producer in many instances. So, and before we switch exclusively back here one more time to Nick. Is there anything as far as in the comments section so far via the Peanut Gallery, whether D Live, YouTube, or what have you, Sonia, that you can see that as far as
Well,
questions or
Roger popped in. He is
right?
multicasting for us
Yep.
on
Oh, great.
Rumble Premium tonight.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, and that there we go. If you're looking, if now you could hopefully work out a more reasonable time with someone like Robert. He's based out of the States, but if you're looking to make the rounds and appear more in the capacity as a feature guest on various people's shows, he would be one guy to talk to, so we could help to connect with him as well.
That would be lovely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk to anybody who'll have
Yeah.
me. Really, I'm
Great.
very eager to build relationships and have conversations. So it's one of my favorite things to do.
Good. Yeah. Well, your star definitely. Because we do pirates, yeah, headhunters as well. For as if the whole pirate thing wasn't macabre enough. So it takes people to a real dark place, which is kind of I get a kick out of because it does freak a lot of people. It even freaked me out for a while. It's like, what the hell are we doing here? So and, it's enough.
Yeah, baby.
Pirate thing, so it's a little too. But
Yeah.
no, we're a new age and a new breed. In fact, it's a long story, but Pirates of God, the Blues Brothers movie, we're on a mission from God. So
Right.
that we're here to redeem ourselves, that in a past life or multiple past lives, we were very bad boys and girls. We hurt a lot of people, brought a lot of pain to people, and damaging, destroying their lives. Now we've been given, by the grace of God, or you could say karma, I suppose, the opportunity.
Or you could say the death trap.
The Matrix wheel
Yeah.
of
My
rebirth.
a good friend of mine, she refers to the big fucker, so you could call it that as well.
Did you just drop an F-bomb?
He did.
That's the second one tonight, but you didn't comment on
Well, that's
it, so
10 doubloons to the potty mouth.
maybe
Yeah.
it broke up when I did the
It
first one.
slipped by you.
That's
Thought it was okay. You didn't mention it. You didn't call me out on the first one, so I thought we were good.
So technically, that is the first one, or not technically.
That went totally over my head. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's okay.
10. I'm joking. Well, actually, no. I do joke, but with you because you're a guest and new to the whole way that we do things here, I guess we can cut you a little slack. But Roger. Why did I say Robert? Roger. So I'm thinking Robert Morningstar. Roger. He kind of skirts around it with all he drops F bombs. It's all frickin' is his F bomb of choice. Frickin' this and frickin' that. Fine. It just doesn't have. It's not as harsh as the other, of course, that we're quite familiar with. But for the one that we came up with over the course of the whole scamdemic was figged. Everything's all figged up. That was our new F bomb. Fear, ignorance, and greed. So when
Nice.
you're pissed off, it's all figged up: fear, ignorance, and greed. You know, you gotta pick out those acronyms. Okay, Chatham House. Mark Carney. What a useful. Well, you know, it's just the whole thing. And did you hear about the $40 billion that went into his campaign? That just kind of magically and mysteriously, quite quietly, $40 billion of Canadian taxpayers' money that's alleged to have gone into funding his campaign.
No.
Completely kind of like off the books, like out of sight, out of mind sort of deal. But we'll leave that aside for now, because let people work that one out for themselves, along with all of the malappropriated ballots, the boxes of people with their votes that we either cast and uncounted or never released to the public in the first place, or what have you. So it's just wild. But Chatham House, what is the angle there exactly? What is his role within the context of things, as Alan himself talked about extensively, time and again throughout the years, making very evident and clear. And I'd like you, if you could, to take this back and maybe within the context of Milner's kindergarten and the roads roundtables and so forth. But the with the with Chatham House, well, Bilderberg is one example. Obviously, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, and of which the Council on Foreign Relations is said to be the American branch of the Royal Institute of International Affairs. It's the CFR, and then of course it goes all the way to up, to the Crown of England and Chuck. And I hope you're not a big monarchist per se, but they haven't been really.
I am not.
They're
I like to refer to him as the king formerly known as Prince Charles.
yeah, they it's the Queen did I don't know, the Queen was epic, and say what you like about her, and she probably did have a darker side, obviously, but she seemed to maintain and uphold her image, and her legacy, I think, is well preserved in many ways. Charles has been doing his best in his own way. This is my kind of hot take, but Andrew, big boner there, in more ways than one, with the whole Epstein bromance that went on for far too long.
Yep.
And
He doesn't sweat. Did you know that? He has a
yeah,
rare condition that means he doesn't sweat.
reptiles don't sweat. That is a fact. It's a scientifically proven fact. That reptile DNA. He's just a goofball, unfortunately. But and then poor bloody Harry. What is wrong with him? Really, like, he's so out of touch. Has he no sense of shame? Why could he not be more of a more dedicated to his job and to his place in history? He's what's going on exactly? I mean, I'm kind of all over the place a little bit, but Chatham House, and start with the Royals, then circle back to Chatham House. How about that? And Mark Carney's role in all of this, New World Order, sort of.
I can have a go.
All right, yeah.
Big topics, and I can certainly say what I know. I recently read a book on the channel called The Sustainable Prince by Joan Vion. It's a really short, sort of 120-page book. If people type it quickly into a search engine and try and find it, it's generally quite pricey. Channel called for a sustainable book that it is. But in that book, she talks about how Prince Charles is connected to the legacy of Cecil Rhodes and Lord Milner and the Round Table groups, and became very interested in sustainable development and has been working very hard since a young man to foster collaborations between governments and business owners. And this sort of collaboration is also known as a public-private partnership, which I'm sure you and listeners will be familiar with this.
Don't get me
and
started.
So in this book, which was published in 1991, Joan Vion's talking about public-private partnerships and how
Public-private
the royal
partnership.
family, specifically King formerly known as Prince Charles, was setting these up by way of an organization which he created called something like Prince Charles Business Leaders Forum. And if you try and look that up, there's not much available on it. There are some records on gov.uk website for the company it's listing, the name of the company, and there's a website for the something that sounds similar, Business Leaders Forum, but it doesn't have any mention of Charles on there. So the thesis of the book is that he's been working very diligently and very hard to bring about sustainable development, or as I call it, sustainable austerity. And I think this has been this is the current iteration or manifestation of the agenda that was set in place by the likes of Rhodes and Lord Milner back in the days of Milner's kindergarten, so around the turn of the century, 1900 or thereabouts. This idea to bring the world under the system of under the British system, and they hatched this plan. And Cecil Rhodes left a massive amount of money to the establishment of the Rhodes scholarships by way of his trust, which was put into the hands of a Rothschild banker. And over the years, it's kind of evolved and changed. And I always focus on rebranding, because I think the way that these scams and schemes are perpetrated is through this constant process of rebranding what is essentially the same agenda that has been continuous through all of time, whereby a tiny parasitic minority enslave the rest of us. But they have to rebrand it every so often. They have to bring in the next stage, and they do that by telling you that you're escaping the tyranny of the old system, and we're bringing you into the new system, which is so much better because you will enjoy so much more freedom and so many benefits. But actually, it's the same system.
It's
It's still a
feudalism
system of
for the
exploitation.
21st century, digital feudalism in many ways. There's that you can find the
Exactly.
markings of that, and then technocracy as well. That whole angle is that's interesting too. How it ties into what we're looking at
Yeah,
here.
and it
But
all ties in, and it was all happening
let me just
around the
quickly,
same
I'll
time. So technocracy was started in the sort of 1930s,
oh yeah,
and
I,
it's all sort of
mhm,
coalescing now into, as you say, a digital feudal system.
sure.
Which I was just watching a video that Melissa posted, it funnily
Hmm.
enough, by a guy called Aman Jabi, and he does a whole hour-long spiel on the 5 pillars of digital slavery, and
Oh
he
God.
explains how all the sensors and facial recognition software and data collection by way of screens and cameras in our laptops and our smartphones are all being linked in to create a system whereby you're not going to be able to buy anything without first having your digital ID scanned and tracked and used to grant you permission to buy that thing. So
Social
he
credit
uses the
system
example: if
too.
you've eaten too much
That's right.
sugar that week, then when you go to the shop and you go to open the container in the shop that has the sugar in it, it will just not let you open it
That's
because you're not
smart
allowed to
too,
buy any more
right?
sugar now.
That's
You've
right.
gone over
Very
your
smart.
quota.
Social
So it's
credit.
quite a terrifying vision that this gentleman paints. But when you start to uncover the history and the organizations and the groups, you can really trace it back to this and I'm sure it goes back much further.
Hmm.
But my sort of book collection and area of study has only really gone so far back as Cecil Rhodes and the Rothschilds and the Milner Group and the Fabian socialists as well. They were really important in this.
Hmm. Hmm. That's right. The boiling frog syndrome, or modus operandi, strategy and approach. Is that not the case with the
I
Fabians?
don't know if
Correct.
that tied together the
Well,
sort of things that you wanted me to.
oh no, that's
Anything you
fine. That's
wanted me
great.
to
That's
add
that's
more about
wonderful. And we'll
there?
keep
Am I
coming
still on?
back. We'll keep
Are you
circling
still here?
around and then coming back and touching on the key points and elements as they
Yes,
rise.
you are.
Cool.
Sustainable,
I
but
wasn't sure if
what
I'd lost connectivity
Yeah,
there for a
I
minute.
don't know what happened to our
what?
host here.
Hang on. Why
But we're still
can
here.
nobody
But
hear
I
me?
guess that
Yes.
means we're not broadcasting anymore, are we? Or are
I
we?
don't know. Let's check.
No,
Yeah,
no,
we're
no.
still going.
What?
Oh,
Why
cool.
can nobody? Oh, these
We're
guys.
going.
Uh-oh.
That confused me there.
Oops. Oops. Okay. So, yeah,
Hang on,
that's fantastic.
I'm gonna drop out. I'm gonna drop out here, folks. They clearly cannot hear me, but listeners out there in gallery land clearly can. That's I'm assuming here is typically the case, and the reason for that is because we're working with Jitsi, and sometimes there are technical hiccups. Can you hear me now? Hello, I'm back. No, jeez, I can't hear them now either. This is bizarre. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This might be the issue here. No? Hello? Test one, test one. I can't hear them. They can't hear me. This is not good. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. Okay, stand by, folks. This is really bizarre.
Can hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me now? Test one. Okay, now.
There we go.
Now can you hear me? Yes? No?
Yep.
It's good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you start talking to Milner groups, Milner's kindergarten, the roundtable organization, the deep conspiracy, the forces that operate on this so largely occulted level, and you never know what's going to happen, I guess. So we can't now. Neither of you are on camera. I am, and what happened there was we were still live streaming, and Nick, everything that you said, people could hear. For some reason, my mic dropped out, and I'm not sure what more to say
Huh.
other than there was a technical snafu and malfunction. So we heard you unpack everything though, and it has been recorded. I'm quite
Oh,
pretty
cool.
confident for posterity's sake. Sustainability. How is this defined? Kind of like anti-Semitism. This might trigger you in. Well, it doesn't matter if it does. Really, hopefully, maybe it should, as it triggers so many. But these bloody definitions. I mean, that is an example. Or the war on terror. It's like, well, isn't war? Well, how is war not terror? It's like just total Orwellian sort of almost double thing, really. Sustainability, please define it.
Well, sustainability,
20 words or less.
20 words. That is a challenge. I like that. This should be a game show. Okay. You'll
We
own
got
nothing
Pirates
and
Rag.
you'll be happy. There you
Pardon?
go.
Oh, yeah. Eat bugs and you'll be happy. Is that right? Oh, own nothing and you'll be
You'll own
happy.
nothing and you'll be happy.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliant. There
be
you
eating
go.
bugs.
Oh, yeah. That's brilliant. Thank you. Love it. Love it. So, yeah. And of course, straight from from Klaus Schwab. Speaking of Rothschilds, his mother, that was her maiden name, is how the story goes. Were you aware of that?
No, I didn't know about that.
Look in.
Actually.
Well, fact check.
Curious.
Fact check. And if we somehow are off base here, then let us know. But that's our understanding as far as.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah. Well, look
With
and
regards to
but,
sustainability, I feel like we always got to think about these terms from the point of view of this like dominant psychopathic minority who's perpetrating these crimes. I think they want a system that is sustainable, that will be sustainable for them, i.e., they can sustain their power, their grip on the wealth, and their control over the rest of us. So that's what they're trying to install, and this is why I think they want to get the digital sort of feudal system up and running, and they are doing that with very little resistance and pushback because people are, zombified by their screens and their phones and their gamified social media apps and all these kind of things. But once the system's in place and we are all having our faces scanned in order to gain access to the supermarket, then their control will be sustainable at that point because there'll be very little we can do to get ourselves out of it because, we won't be able to eat without submitting, like we talked about the Facebook facial scan, the humiliation ritual that they make you go through in order to access your Facebook account. It's going to be like that. But if you want to get your bread and your milk or your soju, in your case, it'll be a similar sort of rigmarole that you're going to have to submit to. And that, from their point of view, I think is that's the sustainability they're going for. This system of perpetual digital control that is sustainable, that will ensure their life of luxury and comfort and ridiculous wealth and power, and while the rest of us are kind of being humiliated digitally on a daily basis.
All tied into the digital social credit as well, with the heaps of smart technology, what they've branded and labeled smart, which is really quite laughable in the sense that right off the bat, and for anyone who's thinking, you've got to ask yourself, smart for who? And what other implications are there to this? It's one of the reasons I don't own a spy phone. And really, just everywhere we see smart, as far as technology is concerned, I would argue that you replace it with spy and see what happens.
Great.
As
I like that.
smart cars and smart cards, um, tech of all various sorts. Yeah, because they want, it's like they want us to feel as if when we're using the the toys and technology, the gadgets that they are flooding the market with, essentially, and really promoting hard, that it's somehow there's more benefits, I guess, than not. There's more pros than cons, essentially.
Well, there's also the other meaning of the word smart, which is
Mhm.
a pain, isn't it? Right? Something
That's
smart.
right. And did you know the acronym? There's an acronym that goes along with it, apparently, too. Do you know what that stands for?
Oh, that would be a good one if I could remember. I have seen it,
I
or I've seen an
uh-huh.
acronym, but off the top of my head, I
Let,
don't think I can recall it.
let me try. I won't get it though. I'll get as close as surveillance something or another, artificial retention technology. Look it up if you would, Sonia, please. Smart acronym, smart tech acronym. So yeah. Anyways, listen, I had to recently go in and submit to biometric fingerprinting, and
Really?
yeah, it was comical yet sad. And this was like the fourth trip I had to make, fourth or fifth trip to immigration to get this straightened out. They forgot the last time to even do it. And then they hit me with this huge fine on top of it, to the tune of, it was $800 if I pay
Whoa.
at right there, on that day, at that time. If I came back the next day, it would be $1,000. But
Whoa.
just for you, and only for you, and only today. If you do this, we'll give you a little bit of a break here, because
What
we're
was
so.
the violation? What was the thing? What did you
Well,
do
see,
to
that
deserve
it
a
all
fine?
relates to. I've contacted human right. We've been in touch with human rights lawyers. Completely useless to this point, unfortunately. When in Korea, do as Koreans do, was their
Oh, okay.
response. It's like, well, that doesn't sound like you're really taking a serious look at what I'm talking about here. Do you even care? But a number of years, essentially, that I had delayed or foregone, just kind of put off submitting to this matrix kind of prison
Uh-huh.
planet digital entrapment. There's so many problems with the whole business of doing this. Of course, the digital fingerprints, for one, like in Canada, not sure what the UK system is, it's only when you're a suspected criminal. You're taking it for something, just starting with like drunk driving, for example. You
Mhm.
submit to, you know providing fingerprints, and it all kind of, it goes from there. But I think even after 10 years, you can have your fingerprints ask to have your fingerprints removed from the database if you haven't been charged with any further more serious
Okay.
crimes. Yeah. So, and there's a whole case to be made here. Trust me, like, and you can just use your imagination to think in defense of human rights and privacy rights,
Mhm.
freedoms, and the way that it's clearly they're what's the and everyone by default here in South Korea is required the age that you when you become 18, I think it's 18 or 19, you've got to make that trip to the cop shop to in a day. And I did back in 2002. I was taken in quite uh suddenly, and it really kind of caught me off guard, kind of shocked and surprised me because they made me submit ink. They inked my fingers and made me do
Wow.
fingerprints that way. But that was one of the arguments that I made this go round. 20 some odd years later, it's like, look, you already got my fingerprints. And then they're like, no, new system, new system.
Yeah.
So
Got to do
Got
it
it.
again.
Ready?
smart. You have the acronym.
Yeah, there's many acronyms. Although I kind of would prefer the bird sounds, but that's okay. The one that I have available immediately is Secret Militarized Armaments in Residential Technology.
That
Ooh,
works.
that's a good one.
That
I don't
works.
think I've heard that one before, but it's good.
Right. I'm not sure where it comes from, so there's plenty,
Let's hear.
especially on Google.
Oh, no, what are you doing using Google? Don't even
I
say
didn't
that.
use Google.
Oh God,
No, I didn't.
duck, duck.
That was from my own personal abattoir, or however you say that.
Okay, okay. The only
Then
problem okay.
I just wanted to do a shout out of the crow's nest view that I have. And Roger Hansen, he wanted to make sure that everyone heard that he said, "That's so frickin' no, friggin', that's so friggin' gay," is what he says. And that's about it. And DK says hi as well.
What he says he's so friggin' gay.
No, he says, "That's
Why
so
is
friggin'
Roger?
gay." What you were
mm,
talking about earlier about his frickin', he turned it to friggin'. And he just
Oh,
wanted everyone to know,
I see.
apparently. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Friggin' Roger.
Well, he's gonna go gay on us one of these days. We all know that.
Oh, I don't know
It's
about that.
going to
I don't
happen.
know about
I don't know.
that.
To my mind, the gayest one is the one they use in Battlestar Galactica when they say frack.
Oh,
Frack. Yeah,
really?
that is.
So,
And
Yeah.
I
so
like the series. I thought it was a great series, and it had that
fracked up,
great cover of All Along the Watchtower, which was a real good reimagining of that song. But the frack, the
ah,
way they use that was,
Frack.
right?
yeah.
Listen, that reminds me. Thank you for mentioning that. Your music. You've also recorded some music. I haven't heard anything
Yeah.
of it so far, but Sonia, speaks highly of what she has had a chance to
Yeah, you guys would
engage
do
in.
great
So,
jamming together. Oh my
Oh yeah,
gosh.
oh,
that would be fun.
no, no, no. I was. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Jamming? Are you kidding? No, man. I am the king of the underground indie scene. No one even comes close.
I don't know. I don't know.
So
Yeah, yeah. Nick's got some great songs on, especially on this the Secret album.
okay.
That was really
All
cute.
right. So
Yeah, you
tell
can
us a little
download
bit
them all
more
too.
about
They're
that,
free.
Nick. How long you've been
Yeah.
interested in
Yeah,
music,
absolutely.
and what
So
sort
for
of
me,
genres you are mostly interested in? You write your
yeah,
own songs, is that right?
yeah,
Good.
not on purpose.
Ah.
It just sort of happened one day, and
Mm,
I've never been able to do it on command. But I have a old iPhone, and I use the voice memo app to record little ditties that I come up with, chord changes and riffs,
nice.
and during lockdowns, in fact, I started coming up with some songs, and I
Sure.
was trying to capture some of the mood of the moment,
Right.
and sort of thinking along the lines of protest songs
Mm-hmm.
or these kind of, because music is so powerful for conveying information. Whereas, a 5,000 word article by Webb, a lot of people can't be bothered to read that. But, a 3.5 minute song that might capture some of the message is more likely to get people's attention. So, yeah, I started putting these songs on my little voice memos app. And then at some point, I realized that I had 10 of them and I thought, well, that's enough for an album. So I put them all together and spent
Mm.
way too long choosing what order to put them in.
Hmm.
Because you want to get the order right. You
Mm-hmm.
got the intro and then which is the outro
That makes a
song.
difference.
It
Yeah,
does,
way
yeah.
too long faffing around with the order. And then I bundled up that with all the little ditties that I'd recorded that I thought were, reasonably good enough to share, let's say, because they're all sort of rough recordings, and I stuck them in a bundle, and I was giving that away to people who joined my mailing list and just saying, hey, here's a free gift from me. And I use them on the intros and outros to my live streams as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all my original guitar music, and yeah, that kind of it took me by surprise. I never set out to write and record music. I just recorded these little ditties on my voice memos app, and then one day it turns out I got 500 of them, and I thought, I could probably use these.
That's
And
underground, man.
I'm sorry, 500 voiceovers,
voice memos, so just little
effects.
snippets of my guitar
Yeah.
playing, little ideas that I've recorded.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
So
Super
I might come
cool.
up with a little idea, and I think,
mhm,
oh, that's neat, and I'll just hit record, and I'll just
right,
play it, and then I'll forget about it. And most
right.
of them, I can't remember how to play them anymore.
I totally I get it. I get it. Yeah. I've got
Yeah.
Audacity. That's all I've got here because I don't own you use running all this through your smartphone, as it were. Is that right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
My
well,
spy phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
My wife has one, and that's about as much as we need, I reckon. But
I like to
Audacity.
think there's somebody
So
sitting in GCHQ jamming out to my music,
Yeah.
GCHQ. What you're talking about? Wait a minute. Wait, that's some kind of spy talk, isn't it?
Well, it's like the British NSA.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, they listen to everything. It's nothing personal,
I put a link in chat for his
So,
tunes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was
Jaffe.
going to ask you if that's still available or not, for sure. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
there's a link right there.
so basically, if we'd love to get because I think we're already. Don't you have a? Do you have a Substack?
I've got an account on Substack, but I'm not publishing or putting anything out there at the moment. But it's
Okay.
something I might
All
consider
right.
doing.
So we're not. I guess we're not on your mailing list then yet. Although we do have your email contact information, and that was fortunate because that was really the only way. Even though we could see the shows that you put together over the past. How long? When your show has been in place for 2 years now? Is that right?
Well, what are we in now? It's sort of May, so about like a year and a half, just over a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah. Now, and let me get clear. I was multitasking here while you addressed the whole subject, but you and James Corbett, how did you connect? It was great. Obviously, that's how we first heard about you. Interestingly,
Oh, cool.
but how did that all play out? What's it like? I'm not sure if you fleshed that out
Yeah.
entirely.
So I didn't not on this call, but I James Corbett. So when lockdowns began, I started thinking, these people on the news are clearly do not have my best interests at
Oh,
heart. So I went looking for
jeez.
information
Yeah.
sources that made sense and weren't so alarmist and fear mongering, and I quickly found James Corbett and Last American Vagabond and Richard Grove of the Ground Theft World podcast and these other people. And an episode, and I was following James around to his various appearances on different shows, and he was on episode 4 or 5 of the Grand Theft World podcast, and he and the host of that, Richard Grove, were talking about books, and they were going back and forth about all the different books they read and making recommendations to each other. And I went then to Richard Grove's content, and he's put out a really good podcast called the Peace Revolution podcast, which is a fantastic educational resource covering the history of mainly the 20th century. And I signed up to a course that he was offering called Autonomy, which is a kind of entrepreneurship, high value skill set online community type of course. And then while I was in there, I started writing my songs, and I was connecting with a lot of like-minded people and having
Mm-hmm.
lots of great conversations and
Mm-hmm.
building out a network. And at some point, Richard asked if we could make a thank you message for James Corbett, because I don't know if it was, I think it was his birthday or something. Oh, no, no, no. What it was, James Corbett was making an end of year video, and he was getting in touch with all the people he'd interviewed as part of his Solutions Watch series. And Richard was one of those, because the course that Richard teaches is one of the solutions. And so he asked us to make a short video to give to Corbett, and I wrote a song about basically thanking James Corbett and Richard Grove for helping me sort of avoid gene therapy, and I put that song together and I sent that over, and James liked it, and he featured it on his end of year wrap up video 2023 it would have been, which is pretty awesome. And
What
so
the
we
hell
just
was that?
stayed in.
Did you just pull? Was that you?
I think that was Sonia.
I
Oh,
just
Little
put a
heart.
heart out there. It's
oh,
cute.
did you hear the
I made
audio
a
come
sound.
through? Is that like a Jitsi
Yeah.
feature or what? That's cool.
Yeah, it's Jitsi.
Well, let's keep work it, babe.
Yeah.
Work it.
He put the video out there, and then we just stayed in touch. And
Good.
so when he got his book out, I just shot him an email, and I just said, "Hey, you got a book out? I'm doing a show about books. Can I interview you?" And he agreed straight away. He's pretty good with his time like that. He'll talk to a lot of people on
Mhm.
smaller shows, and that was really good of him. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think it came out well. He certainly knows his stuff. I didn't tell him what I was going to ask him about. I just got him on the call and then started asking him questions, and I think he handled every single one of them excellently. So I was really impressed.
He's one of the smartest and sharpest people out
Yeah,
there,
he is.
obviously. So we don't say following and we don't say programming. Like our followers or their followers
Or
following.
broadcasting.
Well, I don't know.
Broadcasting's like a spell. It's a spell that's broadcasted.
Oh, well, like
yeah.
what
Yes.
Alan used to talk about was actually cutting through the matrix and cult like deprogramming. So that
Yeah.
people kind of waking people up from out of their slumber and neutralizing the spell, perhaps how it's been cast upon and how we've all been hypnotized, taken in so
Yep.
many ways. So yeah, but yeah, there's been a few people out there who said, why don't you have James Corbett on your show, and we'll leave that in Sonia's hands. That's all I'm going to say because
Yeah.
I'm just not. I don't know. I've just got to the. We're really fortunate to have Sonia because anytime we find someone that we think is noteworthy and interesting and would make for a fun guest, that we bounce it off of her and let's leave it in her hands. So it's someone she's been doing a lot of great work in that capacity,
Thank
along
you.
with well, you're more than welcome. Along with all the great creative art designs, t-shirts, coffee mugs that she's been providing for us in support of the work we do here, and along with so many others. Have you dropped by her website and taken a look at galacticfire.com?
I did. I had a very brief look earlier today. Yeah.
Cool.
Great
Right
stuff.
on.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. So, okay. Well, just looking at the time, and to just let people know, well, regular listeners will be aware that we typically run for about 90 minutes here. It's not the Joe Rogan experience, not yet at least. So, although I tell you, the Democrats apparently they're spending millions, I hear, looking for a Joe Rogan of the left. So maybe if we were to phony up a little bit or to do what we can to kind of accommodate their wishes, I don't know. I think we're too free, frankly, in our thinking because we're not here to hoodwink or bullshit anybody. We're all ears, of course, and we just want the truth, man. And sometimes, yeah, it can be a pretty bitter pill to swallow, but we're all adults, and we've there's just a lot going on in the world, obviously, with a whole host of issues that impact our lives, and based upon what has been unleashed on the world, uh, you know, throughout the course of time, has things that have events that have reverberated for millennia, frankly, even to the point of there being a potential cosmic war, and the fact that we're all. What did Shakespeare talk about? Well, life is but a dream, of course, but we all essentially have a role to play. Actors.
Mm.
How does he phrase it exactly? I don't even know what play it was.
The world is a stage.
The
Is
world
that
is
the
a
one you're talking
stage.
about?
Yeah, we
Right.
all. And then
Well, that's one of the things that I realized certainly throughout lockdowns and then my whole journey of starting to pay attention and try and get up to speed on these agendas and these key players and the books they've written and the breadcrumbs I left behind is that it certainly seems to me to be above and beyond the 5 sense material realm. You know, there are other things at play, other forces. That's one of the unexpected results of my journey to truth and to try and find some truth is that realizing that there is a whole, I think, a whole spiritual aspect and dimension to this place, and I don't know, I'm not connected to it or witnessing what's going on there. I am connected to it, but I'm not witnessing and communing with the beings that exist there, and I don't know exactly what's going on there, but I think there is something to that. It is big. It's cosmic. It's going on everywhere, and all the small things that we do on a daily basis, they do matter.
Yep.
And so, trying to be creative and trying to live in our humanity as much as we can, and express the better parts of our human nature, kindness and generosity and compassion and bravery and loyalty and honor and all these things that are kind of under attack and being bred out of us by the social controllers. I think that's very important for anybody to do, no matter where you're at in life, no matter how important your job may be or how high your social status might be. It's really on all of us to
Yeah.
do those little things to keep our very humanity alive, because I think that is what is under attack. So yeah, I'm totally on board with what you just said.
That was a great speech there, Nick.
he's a
That was
gifted.
cool.
He's a natural speaker.
He
He's
is.
got the gift of the gab, and
He
that's one
is.
of the reasons that I actually, you might not realize this or not, but it's we talked about. I mentioned this whole business of practicing music, practicing guitar, which I've fallen back in love with recently because I'm getting old. I'm going to die soon.
Nice.
You know,
Whatever. Come on.
no,
Come
really.
on.
Oh, a fire in the belly, man. No. Fire in the belly. Like, here's the thing, Nick. During this lockdown bullshit. What a load of crap. Stay inside. Stay away from the sun. It's bad for you. Let Bill Gates block the
Yeah.
sun and give you these experimental kill shots because they're actually good for you. Hey. And by the way, we are live streaming through present, and they're red for a reason. They're red
That'll
for,
fix everything.
yeah. And so we're still waiting for, every time I click on BoobTube, I'm waiting for the next, baseball.
Strike.
Yeah,
Slap on the wrist.
you said it.
Yeah.
So, but where the hell were we going with this now? Oh yes, fire in the belly, and the whole, my spirit. I obviously didn't kill myself like a lot of people apparently did. I don't know how many people did, or how many people were taken out by the kill shots themselves. Bertrand Russell, harkening back once again, injection, injunction, and diet. Thank you for that reminder. Hopefully it'll stick with me now. But my spirits are
You
really
just got to
low.
remember that the word diet is made up of the letters die,
Yep.
DIE.
That's
And then
right.
you're
That's
thinking
right.
injections and injunctions, they make you die.
Right.
Diet. There's the third one. So
There you
hopefully you'll
go.
never forget it
That's
now.
right. But how about
Yeah.
this? Well, now that you mention
Word
it,
magic.
how about the earth that we live on? There's a couple things that I'll present to you, and don't you love it? The adult students I work with here talking about presenting. It works in three ways. Presently, I'm going to present this present to you. Here you go. There you go. So it's an adverb. It's a verb, and it's a noun. It's a present. But Earth and planet, in particular, planet. Have you ever stopped to look at that one? Or propaganda? Let's not forget about that. But let's stick with planet to begin with. Plan ET. I like that one. It's not too many people talk
Yeah.
about it. There's a few
Yeah,
things
I've heard that before.
yeah. Or Earth. If you just take the H at the end of Earth and bring it around to the start of the word, what does it spell?
Heart.
Boom, boom,
Heart.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
boom, boom. So, and these are the interesting little things that we talk about, where because we're endlessly the oh
A little late, but
yeah, and Nick just ate your heart, eat your heart out. Yeah, so he just actually literally gobbled your heart on screen. That was interesting. I hope his wife's not too jealous.
Wasn't intention.
Yeah.
yeah, it just automatically goes to him, you know.
Oh hell, now I'm getting totally distracted. But the whole thing, my energy level during the scamdemic, it was a real struggle, and within a spiritual context, because whether people realize it or not, I would argue that yes, we're very much actions, words, and thoughts. And thoughts are the most subtle, of course. That's most problematic. I don't know if you've ever read the Dhammapada. It's like an ancient Buddhist
Nope.
text. And it just talks about like Christ himself, which is why I believe he was a Buddhist, heavily influenced by this Mahayana Buddhism. But that adultery begins within the heart, or did he say the mind? He's talking about thoughts. So, and it's the way that the Buddhists do talk about the monkey mind, and but it's the most subtle as compared to gross
Mhm.
actions that we, after not always thinking, because sometimes we strike or lash out without doing so, and then of course words, but all of which require hopefully us, ideally, to have our thinking in order. And that's one of the reasons, going back to the earlier point that Jaffe was trying to make, the reason I got involved in this, partly being drawn in through almost like what was the cosmic calling, perhaps, or destiny. It was not my intent necessarily to do so. It's a long story. It involves another
Mhm.
character altogether who completely disappeared and only returns to the scene and the ship and Skullport Harbor once in a blue moon. Great guy, but he's got his own thing going on right now. So, what can you say? But developing and finding one's voice. You've heard about this, I guess, right? So, and for me, I'm just kind of an introvert. I do write songs and I do perform on stage from time to time. But what I'll say is that,
Nice.
like, yeah, and I, have done festivals in the West and, well, coffee houses, street busking. Even here in South Korea, recently gotten more into, the swing of things and just going out and in an impromptu kind of way, performing, doing street busking, which is not something you find much of outside of Seoul, as you can probably imagine. So, mm, well, I don't know. It's really good though. I'm glad to hear that people such as yourself. I got really depressed. Honestly, I did. I got depressed and not totally disheartened, but it was a real struggle, as with so many people. So, how did you fare? How did you manage? Like,
Mhm.
what did you do to maintain your spirits?
Great question. Yeah. So the way it all panned out for me was very, it's another reason why I started to think very seriously about higher powers and other and spiritual dimensions to things, because I actually got married in November 2019.
Oh,
And then we moved in together in the very beginning of February. And then by the end of February or March, we were locked down.
in
And
in
so we
Vietnam or the
just,
UK?
no, sorry, this is in the UK.
Okay,
And but my wife and I were not living together, and then we got married before we got married. Then we got married. Then we moved in together just before lockdowns
wait a
began.
minute. Hold it,
So it
hold it,
was
hold it, hold it.
very
No,
close.
no sex before marriage. Was that what you were going by? Really, or
I just
what?
said we weren't living
He
together.
didn't
Don't
say
jump to
that.
conclusions.
Well, what? Okay, well, why? It was just not feasible, pragmatic. You couldn't afford to live again. Oh, she was
We had
still in
lived
Vietnam,
together previously. No, she was here in the UK,
right?
but she was studying, so she was living in the place where she was studying. And then I moved down there into a
Ah,
shared house, and she was in some
oh, sweet,
student accommodations. And so this
great.
was the first place we got moved in together. So it was very sort of well timed.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Of course,
So,
we had no idea what was coming.
oh, two quick questions. What was her major? And secondly, is that a real library that we see behind you there? Is that a green
Yes.
screen?
No, that's definitely real. I can reach back
It's
and grab
real.
any of those
Oh,
books. Just let me know
wow.
which
That
one.
is so far out, man.
Um,
Great.
yeah, this is
What was your
so
major?
her major was international. I think it was called something like international business,
Right.
something specific like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was
Is
quite
she
vague.
making use of it?
Um,
Like
no, she's doing it. She's doing a similar thing to me actually, risk management consulting. So we ended up in this role.
Cool.
I
Yeah.
guess clearly
Um,
that didn't work out too well as far as her stomach imploding. There was no protection
So,
involved. In other words, trying to make a bad impromptu joke. I mean, we need
yeah.
some. Yeah. So
So you
risk
guys got
management.
stuck together then, right after you moved in. You had to stay together.
They were
well,
good.
it
They
was
were in love.
amazingly like we were just lucky because we moved kind of out of the city because the only place we could afford was this place out of the city. It was up a hill in a little village in a shared house with another woman who trained dogs. And so she had a lot of pets and dogs.
Okay.
And we moved in with her and then we got locked down. But because we'd moved out of the city and we're in this little village, we had a big garden and we had a beautiful view of the city and we had a lot of like fresh air
Far
and
out.
nature around
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
and the lockdown it wasn't anywhere near as harsh as it would have been had we been like in a city or in an apartment block or something like that. So we were very lucky to have that
Yeah.
around us, and that helped us
You
survive,
you both
get through it big
you've
time.
remained purebloods.
We have, yes.
Thank God.
Fantastic.
My wife went behind my back secretly, basically has killed
Oh,
herself. I like Jacques. What the hell was his name now? The Frenchman, Jean Jean Montier or Jacques Montier, Luc
uh-huh.
Montier. He
Oh,
was
Luke,
the
yeah.
Nobel Prize winning doctor,
Oh
well,
yeah.
among other things,
Hmm.
I guess. But he said like three of those kill shots, and you better watch out because you're going to end up with VADES essentially. Now, I would on top of that, Bobby Kennedy, he let something slip at one point and then kind of disavowed it or kind of just sort of couched it in a different way that during the time where he was up on they hauled him up on the carpet for the hazing ritual, I guess is what it's known as in some quarters. They really go at you. It's like, well, you said this then and now you've changed your tune, it seems like. What's going on? Can we expect you to flip flop once again when further down the road? But regarding the whole business with Kennedy there and uh, different ethnic groupings. For example, he said, interestingly, how did this work now? Oh, mostly black and white people, Caucasians and people of African ethnicity really got hit the hardest um, as far as death from um, the flu, the gain of function flu, I guess is what you could call it. Really, a lot of people have, I'm
Mm.
sure it seems, And by the way, where did the flu go? Isn't that something? I think most of us had noticed that or asked ourselves, where did the flu go? And secondly, how many of our friends ended up dying and dropping dead, or family members? Not too many. Was that really worth sacrificing all of our hard-fought freedoms for? I don't think so. Our grandparents are rolling in their graves right now, clearly. So, but just to finish the point,
Mhm.
with RFK Jr., the way he laid it out, and he really caught a lot of flack for this. How dare you mention the Jews? Ashkenazi shall not be spoken of. We shall not be spoken of. Even though 150,000 Jews did serve they wore Nazi uniforms during World War II. A lot of people aren't aware of that. Maybe yourself neither, but and
No, I
now
didn't.
connect the whole Israel business where we are currently. It's not that difficult to see that the way that they've pursued their agenda essentially. But setting that aside, going back to the original part, RFK Jr., the Finns and the Han Chinese got away the easiest, along with the
Mm.
Ashkenazi Jews, those who shall not be mentioned. They got off most lightly, while blacks and whites, Africans and Caucasians got hit the hardest. Why was that? Just a
Hmm.
coincidence, or what exactly? So,
Coincidence,
yeah,
obviously.
I'm off my soapbox. Go ahead. And by the way, yeah, we are talking to Nick via Hayes Reviews. In case you're wondering, it's important to remind people. Episode 346 of Pirate Radio Podcast is working on winding things down here, uh, wrapping things up. Thank you so much, Nick. You can barely detect. You don't really have a heavy British accent, and that's why I thought initially I wasn't even clear on. I thought you were maybe Canadian, actually. You
I
told
did have quite a heavy British accent, but then I had to drop it because none of my students in Korea could understand what the hell I was saying. So all
hmm
our teaching materials were American. All the recordings and
right.
audio we played in the classroom were American. And I told them, this is a picture of my mom. And they were just like, what? And I had to say, this is a picture of my mom. And they're like, oh, mom. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a picture of my
So,
mom.
yeah, so I had to just adapt it. I had American friends, Canadian friends as well when I was living in Korea and also in Thailand and Vietnam. A lot of nationalities mixing together, and I also listened to a lot of American content as well. I mentioned earlier, like Last American Vagabond, for example, Richard
Yep,
Grove.
yep.
I know James Corbett; he's Canadian, but a lot of the best a lot of the most useful content that I was finding during lockdown seemed to be coming from America. I couldn't. It took me a while to find good British um, alternative media sources, and even
Mm.
even today, I think America has the best ones because they just have a more of a background and an awareness of freedom. More of it's baked into their history. They're not quite as just perpetually enslaved as the rest of us. Not
Uh,
yet.
Americans, you
Yeah, they've got like
yeah,
just because of the mythos of the country and
shit. Well,
throwing off the yoke of the British
hell
and going
yeah.
there to be free and
Second
that's
Amendment
still
rights.
in
Hello,
people's
like yeah.
consciousness. So I
My
think
God.
that's why the best kind of freedom content comes from that country.
Oh, absolutely. Um, I just I couldn't. There was a time where I was kind of on the fence with Second Amendment rights, like because it's scary guns. So maybe they got a point here. And the same thing with man-made climate change, which actually back in the day I think they used to call simply global warming, and it sort of seamlessly transitioned and morphed
It was
into
rebranded.
yeah, it got
Yeah, rebranded.
exactly.
There you go.
Yes, and it's like, well, had to do, because of this, and it's like, okay, right. So, uh, what, keep your eye on the ball there, folks. But and the thing is, I think most of us can agree that pollution is pollution. But this is straight from the
Mhm.
Club of Rome, and it's something where in querying. I don't know if you've done much work with chat box like AI chat what do they call it, chat
Not
gpt.
really. I'm trying to avoid it
Well,
Yeah.
as much as possible.
I've found like it's a total gatekeeping technology. I've queried it on a number of issues. It's like this is fucking total gatekeeping
Got
bullshit.
to jailbreak your AI.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah,
How does that
that's it.
work?
Oh, you haven't heard of the jailbreaking of the AI? Oh, yeah.
Jailbreak,
You
ACDC
jailbreak it and then
jailbreak.
it knows everything. It's quite remarkable,
Are you
actually.
serious? Then it opens up.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
Uh-huh.
kidding. Well, and of
Yeah.
course,
I'll send you a vid next time I
oh,
find one.
thank you.
Well, send that to
Any
me as well, please. That sounds interesting.
beautiful.
Absolutely, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
and
very interesting.
any good pirate worth his or her salt, they know how to jailbreak a thing or two.
Yeah, right?
You would imagine. Yar, me hearties. So
Arr.
Guy Montag via Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 is what we're looking at there on the screen as the slideshow makes the rounds. Nick, I don't know. We could go on for hours here, obviously. Is there anything that we missed out on or that we didn't necessarily get into deep enough with you that you would have liked to have pursued a little more, with a little more earnest and zest?
Well, not specifically. I tend to think that I'm not so much an expert in any one topic. And I mean, we all know by now that if you see an expert coming, you need to run in the opposite direction.
Right.
But
Appeal to
I
authority.
tend to
Appeal to authority.
tend to have these
Standard policies.
more higher level view on things and try and describe what's going on from from the sort of from the perspective that links things together and drop a lot of I like to drop a lot of breadcrumbs for other people to follow and do their own research, you know. So I feel like we've done a pretty good job really of laying out some of the key agenda items that we're living through, some of the important names of groups and individuals. And then, you know, people can kind of pick up those threads and follow where their curiosity leads them. I think that's another important thing for people to do as well.
And get back to us yourself, probably. I mean, I'm sure you're open to the whole idea of if we put something out to the public. This is why you don't need these third party technKRAKEN assets intervening and dictating and suppressing, along with everything else that goes into it. That serves no one's interest other than their own. But just get back to us, folks, if you think that we're off base or maybe misspoke or you're looking for clarification. And that's why we have our email, pirate1radio@protonmail.com. Yours, it's a little different than that, isn't it? I think that might be your business email that you're using, in fact. Or are we?
The email I use is, I gotta change that. It's dumb, but it's all
cool.
Collective conscience.
autonomous username at gmail.com.
I had to double check and make sure I was emailing the right person with that.
Yeah,
that
what
cool.
Can we hear it? Or?
I don't get a lot of spam. That's true.
Right?
We get way too much spam. What is it? I'm sorry. I'm trying to. Is it? I'm reaching out. Collective conscience, something or another. Autonomous, something.
Autonomous username.
Yeah.
Okay.
At gmail.com.
Yeah. That's a little wordy, a little long-winded.
It is.
Maybe. I had a professor. She was a journalism professor back in the day in university, and less is more, essentially, as what her mantra. And that's what I try to try to work by wherever I can, because throughout university and even to this day struggle in that regard, getting a little too wordy and long-winded, the run-on sentences and so forth. But
no, not you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's sometimes I think we have a little fun with it too. It's like we don't try to take ourselves that seriously. Give me a break. So, but let me just, before we wrap up here, and I want to get back to the Chatham House business and Mark Carney's role in where you can foresee Canada going, or during the term of his illegitimate, totally phony and fixed, rigged term that we have laid out for us here. And by the way, were you aware that the King is actually making a visit to Canada to offer the throne speech here? I'm not sure when this will be exactly, but I don't think it's taken place yet. This is the first time that this has happened, the actual Crown themselves, because usually we have the Speaker of the House, who is the Crown's representative, formerly the Queen, now
getting the actual Crown.
Yeah, he's coming to Canada. First time since 1977. 1977 in that, to provide so that all subjects, see, we're not citizens or anything of that. We're loyal. Or they expect us to be loyal subjects. Bow down, kiss the ring, and everything else that goes along with it. And there's a lot of Western dissent right now, and with respect to, Western alienation in Canada has been an issue for a long time. It hasn't got any better in recent years. And they talk about things like equalization payments. I'm not sure if you know what that's essentially, what that entails.
No.
What's basically the eastern provinces are just sucking off, draining off the wealth from out the western provinces' wealth. So all the money goes to fill eastern-based coffers. But moreover, look at with the lockdown scamdemic. That's another reason to be pretty pissed off. The way with government overreach, heavy handling of these issues. Which
it's the lockstep. Bank accounts as well. That was a real step towards tyranny, wasn't it? Freezing
Well,
the bank accounts of the
oh
people
my
supporting
Yeah.
the
God.
truckers' convoy.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's more to come on that front. You can bet. That's just the beginning. So, but the whole in conjunction with the whole lockstep agenda, straight out of the Club of Rome. Once again,
Of
as
course.
with the demonization of the carbon molecule. Do you know how much which is they determined would fit the bill, right? We heard that from Alan. I think was the first.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. So we have to.
That's in this book here, The First Global Revolution. And
Right. Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna be studying that one pretty soon. I've got a book club where people can join, and we have calls like this where we read through a chapter and then discuss the chapter. And so that's the next book we're gonna be looking at, because I haven't read it in its entirety. I've just read that famous quote that you mentioned, where it fits the bill, and the enemy of humanity is man.
Yeah. It's
So I want to see what else they're saying in here.
Yeah.
AI.
That should be good.
It's hilarious when you bounce all these issues off of AI, the way that they work to sandbag and sort of just frame things in the most pro-establishment way possible. With the that's just a conspiracy theory, and so and my next task is, before I jailbreak AI, is to to pursue it, try to pin it down on the whole business of conspiracies. And
Pin it
then,
down.
yeah, well, yeah, but then because it's going to have to admit that, yeah, well, there have been conspiracies through history, but and then to say, well, and how many conspiracies are there that we don't even know of, that have occurred
Ooh.
through history, right? There's a lot. That's the whole point. Keep things hidden and occulted. Just briefly here, Nick, think about this, if you will. But Jim Mars, our occulted history. I know this is something that does interest you, but occulting meaning just simply to hide, or to keep
Yeah.
covered up. And within the context of things, I do believe we are living through the age of the apocalypse. I mean, what better time to be alive? Woohoo! Let's party like it's apocalypse time.
Yeah.
So we got to rewrite that Prince song, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
music partnerships and songwriting. Because I'm always game for something like that. I'll send you a link to some of the material I've recorded and archived,
Yeah.
and
Thank you very much. Look forward to it.
yeah, I noticed. I'm kind of some of the keys though I recorded, it was too high, like D minor, for example. A lot of songs I noticed, like further on down the road, Springsteen tune. A lot of his music. His politics suck. Yeah, I know, but it's the art versus the artist, right? So Johnny Cash and like with Hurt and uh, Personal Jesus, and there's others like Bob
Mhm.
Dylan covers. um, Most of the originals were okay, but just when I got thinking about it, and people do need vocal coaches. They need vocal coaches for it to say, like, wait a minute, why don't you bring that down a step? So
For
and
sure, I had a very good friend who's German, and after I started recording some of my songs, and as I mentioned before, I just recorded them in one take using a voice memos app on an old iPhone, so it's nothing fancy. He sent me a message which was, "Hey, bro, really love the songs. You definitely got some talent there. Can I suggest that you consider getting some vocal coaching
oh yeah,
to just to make your voice sound better, basically?"
oh
So he
geez,
he
have
he
you tried
gently
auto
he gently
tune?
suggested I get some coaching, and
Have you
I
tried auto
agree, but I
tune?
but I agree with what you're saying. Like a bit of training would go a long way. Like the guitar, you could probably spend 20 hours learning and practicing, and then you're good enough to bash out a few songs to sing around the campfire. So just a few lessons, I think, would go very far for those of us who haven't had any vocal training at all.
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, got
Okay,
you.
okay. So oh, fuck, it's a total like brain freeze seniors moment here. Just it. We could go on endlessly here, but the whole Chatham House thing was what I wanted to get to. We're winding things
Mhm.
down here. Final segment. There's some really pressing item that has slipped my mind now. Bloody hell! But it helps if I sit up a little straight. I've noticed that with the blood flow uh, from the brain, I guess, essentially, rather than being too station and horizontal, essentially. Just, I guess it's the key, the energy flow. So Chatham House though, and we're talking Western alienation, Alberta, and that whole business, but we'll leave that aside for now because that's a whole. We did cover that to some extent in our most recent edition of World Pirate Radio News, which oh geez, have you introduced Nick to Mark Edworthy, Sonia?
No, I have not.
Okay, all right. Well, just
Mhm.
fellow Brit or Limey, as we so often love to call them. And you know where that comes from, don't you? The whole Limey business. You must know, Nick.
I don't know.
Oh, shame, for shame.
My gosh.
oh, and I love the British
Enlighten us,
slang.
please.
I love. Tell you what, I love actually as bad as the CBC, as bad as the BBC is. Maybe some people say in Britain, you ought to check out CBC in Canada. That oh my god, just and the funding, the government funding that goes their way, just routinely. It's just it's terrible, and the way that like with Castro, and he really was that was Castro's bastard love child that we saw in office over the past what 8 years in Canada. I I'm I'm quite sure of that. If it wasn't, then well, yeah, it's just quite odd, quite peculiar. Uh, but that there was what was I going to say now with bloody with Trudeau? Help me out on this, Sonia. You can tell I'm running on fumes right now. It's time to wrap things up, and I want to hand it over to Nick one more time regarding Chatham House. And
I'm not sure what you were going for there, Jeff.
yeah, I need. I recently went in and I started taking cholesterol medication because I think
Uh-oh.
I had a cholesterol check.
Mm.
They've narrowed the parameters to cholesterol as far as back in the
Yeah,
day. It
yeah.
used to be like, oh, it was like 500 it was
Mhm.
where the parameter 500 what exactly, I'm
Okay.
not sure, but then over time slowly just shift to kind of putting the squeeze on so that more and more people would get caught up and having
Uh,
to like be.
dish out more medication, can't
There
they?
you go.
Well, sure. And I've
And
heard that's a lie anyway. Cholesterol's good for you. Cholesterol's what you need for your brain. So,
well, yeah, we'll see because I'm
if
like
I find the information, I'll send it to you about
okay,
that
and
for sure.
statins and all that stuff. So I tell you,
Yeah, you don't want to take that
I've
junk.
been having some like heart, not palpitations, just I'm not sure if it's called angina, which actually it's one of the few words in
Well,
English.
that might have something to do with the next rad wave going across the world
The
at like
5G.
3 in the morning or whatever.
Yes, and that's a lot of
You know?
something a lot of Koreans here don't get either. They're really out to lunch. Unfortunately, I'm not sure about the rest of the world. Uh, we got to finish up this limey thing and then Chatham House and then call it a day. But uh, we are under attack. It's a war on humanity. There's no doubt. It's full spectrum dominance, right down to every last little nanoparticulate, folks. Hello. What hasn't been weaponized? The water, the
Mhm.
education system, the food, uh,
Words,
language,
language,
media,
Music.
big pharma, music. Oh, did Mark Devlin?
music as well.
You
Mhm.
Oh
connected
yeah,
with
Mark
Mark
Devlin.
Devlin,
I've got
didn't
his
you?
books. Yeah,
How did that
I
go?
I haven't interviewed him. I've just reviewed his books on the channel. They were some of the first books I reviewed actually, but
Hmm.
I've thought about getting him on for an
Oh,
interview. I think he's got a new book out fairly recently,
we
Part
tagged
Four in the
him.
Yeah.
Musical Truth.
We tagged him on over on Facebook for you know in the hope that maybe that he would see what we've put together here, or at least see what you've done, and yeah, reach out to him. I think you would probably work out quite well. So
Mm.
um yeah, he's done a lot of great work in that regard. Limey, it's the whole thing of being at sea and doing what you can to avert scurvy, right?
Scurvy.
So you bloody
Why is it
limeys.
only okay? Because we were the rulers of the seas.
You
So
bet you were. That's right. You
yeah, I got it.
sailing, yeah, the seven seas
That makes sense.
dominating.
In fact, if I had to guess, I might have actually got that.
Right. Okay,
The
chat.
explanation wasn't as sort of out there and and hard to imagine as I thought it might be. But that makes perfect sense. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm just saying that now that I've heard it, I'm like, oh yeah, obviously it's that.
I gotta read some comments here, folks. Haven't really done too much of that to this point, although we have acknowledged the fact that we've done well for the numbers here. Just a little, almost a 12 people all together.
Nice.
In the live streaming. Oh my God, what is it? 70B 8646. Is that who did that? Yeah, you guys might not have seen that actually, but the shell configuration on the beach. It was it's a parody of 8647 that Comey had no idea what it could possibly have meant, but he thought it was just the neatest thing ever, and that he'd add it to his social media. Let let the world figure it out. So, Drigas Productions, Mark, of course, Sonia, and Nick. Thanks for logging in. Keep an eye over on D Live as well too, if you would, Sonia, for the
Yep.
digital love that people sometimes drop us.
Roger and
Diamonds.
DK's talking. Dragus got us 2 lemons.
Oh, thank you,
And Roger
gentlemen.
donated 2 as well.
Good hashtag
Yeah.
good karma. Thanks, folks. It's really it helps to inspire us and keeps us coming back. Because we're really, otherwise we end up running out of pocket and in the red. In fact, it's called, maybe just call it the red game. And look around, red this, red that, red shield. What does that mean? Anyways, but those bloody, and the reds and the whites, communist, got to have your colors. The communist revolution, and cross a red line, but operating in the red is an issue. So, we really very much appreciate people's donations. Nick, here's something too that we do. Hashtag WWRHD. What would Robin Hood do? We redistribute half of everything that comes our way as far as donations are concerned, whether digital, monetary, PayPal, purchase of merchandise, or what have you. Why don't more social media people, the stature of Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, I mean, maybe it's a bug we could, who knows, James Corbett could, I don't know if he'd promote the idea or not. Maybe people such as himself and others, Candace Owens, they do these things in more on the down low, which is great, obviously.
Could
But
be.
we just encourage people
Would
to
be.
have it as a built-in incentive to because I don't know, you probably don't know anything about our Operation Secret Santa campaign, but we've been running it
No.
now for 10 years, and it's big. It's big, and it's grassroots. And you know how Alan talked about nothing from the grassroots
Yeah.
ever manages to slip through their hands or evade them, right? And I'll get in more into it maybe next time we talk private public partnerships rather, and these other past network building ventures, social media experiments, essentially, that I've
Mm-hmm.
kind of been a part of and helped to lead the charge on because of certain, I don't know, visionary type inspiration, that has come our way. So that goes back to like like late 20th, the mid to late 90s via Canada,
Mm-hmm.
Jam BC, Jesters and Artists of the Muse, British Columbia. We had that whole redistribution sort of principle baked into the cake there as well. So, Roger Hansen, Jane Fair, will it ever turn to Skynet? Low orbit satellites. Well, look at what the hell's a Golden Dome, folks. I mean, yeah, come on. Like, what do you think that's all about with Musk, Golden Dome, Skynet, these low orbit satellites? You don't think those could be weaponized, not just for defense sake, but and turned against the people? Were you aware, Nick, of the international 1977 we call it World Weather Warfare Treaty? AI does not like that. It has this other Orwellian, has other or more euphemistic way of looking at things. But in 1977, they signed this World Weather Warfare Treaty in Geneva at the UN. And first, two questions that I can't help but ask myself, and I hope that others do take time to reflect upon: why was it necessary in the first place? Secondly,
Mm-hmm.
how far have they come since then? far as the level of
Right.
sophistication. Thirdly, why is it that targeting your own citizens is completely fine?
Yeah.
There's no provision against it or protection against the people. It's only nation states targeting each other.
Each other, right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
your own people, totally fair game. So, all right.
Well, it's very interesting because
Mhm.
we've just had like we're into, actually tonight it's rained for the first time in about 7 weeks,
Wow.
which is
Right.
insane for England. If you ever spent any time here, you might know that it rains and it's cloudy all the time. And
Yeah.
we usually get about 3 weeks of sun a year, and we just had 7 continuous, unbroken weeks of sunshine. The trees are looking thirsty. It is very strange. And this was around the same time that they announced in the mainstream that they would start doing experiments to dim the sun because, and the quote that was in the article said, because you can only learn so much from computer models. And I was like,
Oh,
where
wow.
was that sentence when they locked us down? Where was that sentence when they slaughtered all the cattle because of mad cow disease outbreaks? So yeah, it's all strange, and I don't believe in coincidences. But I really like what you're doing with what would Robin Hood do. I think that's a fantastic idea, and yeah, we got to keep our eyes on the weather for sure.
Event 201, that's where they were. That's, gaming the whole,
Yeah.
what was in store, what they had essentially ready to go in lockstep to unleash upon the entire world. So we'll see what they've got in store for us here next. But I don't know. It's thank God, as bad as he may be, and as much criticism as people may want to, uh, you know, uh, send his way, that thank God Trump got in with RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, and I'm a little disappointed with Bongino and Cash Patel. The fact that what now officially they're coming out saying that Epstein, uh, he clearly killed himself. How could it not be? Even though the first time around he was openly stating that his cellmate had tried to kill him. The big, the huge, oversized thug that they had paired him up with, when he should. I mean, why was he not in solitary confinement right from the start? That makes no sense at all. So,
Yeah,
cameras.
they only put you in there if you're suicidal.
What do you mean? Solitary?
Believe it or not. Yeah, yeah. If you're suicidal, you get solitary and you get a 24-hour watch.
Come here, Danny. Oh, Danny's coming to
Yeah.
say it's time to wrap up. He's hungry. So, Driga saying not feeling well, but listening. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Deacon DK Spiracy, great to have you connect with us. There's Zane, an interesting comment regarding how he's teaching at a top tier Korean university, having to submit fingerprints to the US FBI to get a background check. Yeah, we're aware of that. I guess they were digital, is that right? So the whole thing was pretty creepy for me, and I was not happy. It was a bridge too far. It's the Napoleonic Code, where you're assumed to be guilty before you've essentially the you're required to prove your innocence is the
Mhm.
default position. So
It's a
it's
trustless society. That's what is on the horizon now, and that's what the digital system is going to be used for. So like guilt until proven innocent. In other words, so you're going to have to constantly
trustless.
be proving who you are and justifying your decisions by way of your digital ID and your attached social credentials, and that's how they're pushing us towards
Yeah.
trustless society. I don't want to live in a place without trust. I like trusting people, and I like it when people honor the trust that I put in them, because that's how you form friendships and relationships. And so I don't want to lose trust. I think it's a good thing to have in the world.
Although, I mean, come on now, we've all been burned, and I time and again, I've been, because I've been too trusting. Not that I support the system that they are proposing, that they're working on implementing in a very aggressive way, it seems. But you understand, like, you could make the argument. It's just where you don't have the freedom of choice anymore. That's what really
Mhm.
pisses me off. you don't have the freedom of choice. You know what I mean? Or and they don't want the option like to opt out. Are you kidding me? Religious
Yeah.
exemption. Yeah, right. Forget. So. But anyways, good point. Obviously, whatever the case, he said. No, I said angina. Roger, get your head out of the gutter.
Of course, he would say that.
And it's angina. Statins cause brain damage. Well, you know what? I'm a human guinea pig here practicing. I think it's
Oh
one
my
or two.
gosh.
Now the upside, I will say that these little.
That's what's wrong.
Oh, no, actually, no. You know what's interesting? I took that.
That was a cheap shot.
That's fine. Yeah, kick him when he's down. Kick him when he's down. Poor
Yeah,
Jeff. There
I'm
he is,
just
right
kidding.
there.
Just
The
kidding, Jeff.
the stupidity pandemic. What we're looking at here. I'm not sure if you guys can see the. Is that you,
Oh boy,
Sonia, or
it was
who?
so nice having you on, Nick. Thank you so much.
But yeah,
You're
Thank
a
you for having me.
pleasure. You're much a pleasure.
some
Very positive guy. I
alternatives.
loved your show today too.
Yes, got a good vibe.
Fantastic. I'm going to be watching. Yeah.
Tesla
Thanks
talked
for
about
turning me
that
on, Jeff.
vibration and frequency. That's what it's all about. Trump crowned Saudi king. People pick up on that one. I just did it, not in real lifetime, but isn't that something? So he's the king of the world, man. And look, straight out of Revelation, folks. Revelation. Read that one passage. What the hell is it? 13:9, where the beast would be wounded, and to the point where he should have been killed, and but he was bloodied. The whole world marveled at how he managed to survive essentially and cheat death. I'm kind of employing a little, you know, verbal liberty as a word, literary liberty. So just not quite paraphrasing. So quickly, just ran into the comments. Some alternative omega-3 red pepper. Yeah, we need something here that's going to. They say that arteriosclerosis. There's two types: arterio and then artero. So look into it if you're interested, people. They say it can't be reversed, and I stopped smoking years ago. Exercise is good, diet, of course, and but immediately when I took the that one gelatin capsule yesterday, I felt great. So we'll see. Omega-3 we need something that's. They say it can't be reversed, but yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. You can break down the plaque buildup. Come on, folks. Of course you can. Give me a break. So, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. So, where did the Brits get their limes? I don't know. Well, it was a huge empire back in the day, right? The sun never set on the British Empire. And by the way, Nick, I love the comedy, Faulty Towers, and just all the goofy.
Classic.
What's that?
It's a classic.
Well, yeah, no, I can't help but keep going back and watching the damn thing. It's ridiculous. So, but anyways, and it's so much more with the British, like BBC. Say what people can say what they want about it, but some of the shows that they put together, they've offered, and the talent, it's really quite impressive and you know amazing talent, no doubt about it. So Rick Mayall was one of my favorites, actually, and he passed away under rather peculiar circumstances. Speaking of people, dying.
The final film that he was in as well, the really low budget one about. Did you ever see that or clips from it?
It's kind of spooky stuff, wasn't it? Sort of like what is it? What was the Kubrick's last one? Eyes Wide Shut type deal, wasn't it?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Anything close to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rick Mayall's last film, it was a kind of it was a really low budget film, that takes place in a cafe, and it's a group of people in the cafe, and one of them is warning against the rollout of a police state, and then the film sort of climaxes with them getting with boots on the ground outside the cafe. It's very strange. It's quite unusual for a man of his sort of popularity and fame. It was an unusual project to be involved in, and and then he was dead shortly after that. I can't remember the name of the film, unfortunately.
It was pneumonia too. All these pneumonia. Just check out IMBD, I guess, or IMDb. And Rick Mayall, sadly missed. So, so many great British entertainers, comedians, musicians. Van Morrison, I don't know why I was going to ask you about him. He was, well, maybe because for this reason alone. I actually was fortunate. You wouldn't believe it, maybe you would, but I was lucky enough to meet the guy back in 1999. And it's not because I was anyone special, of course, other than just a crazy fan who, I happened to get the inside track on where he was staying with his band and that whole business during his appearance at the Ross on Y Jazz Festival. You probably, Wales, Ross
Hmm.
on Y, maybe the Jazz Festival. His 80th birthday is coming up in August, and we're going to be putting a show once I get back from Canada, because we're going to Canada, the wife and I. That's why I had to submit to these stupid, the biometric surveillance nonsense, pre-crime sort of minority report technology, and but he was one of the few artists who, during the whole scamdemic, I can't think of anyone else, frankly, who had the balls, who had the moral fiber and integrity to use his artistic ability. I mean, you did a thing or two yourself, and many other independents, but I was just too. I was crushed and broken, and that fire in the belly that I referenced earlier, that has come back largely because of
Hmm.
people like him, who is a guiding light in my life as far as musical and spiritual inspiration, believe it or not. So I did meet him, didn't shake his hand or anything. We just exchanged a few words, won't get too much into details. It was memorable, and I was like on cloud nine after departing, as one might imagine. But he and Eric Clapton collaborated. I don't know if you heard about this or not. Clapton took one shot and really got messed up. Then he took
Yeah.
another shot and it got like even worse. His family was mocking him, I guess, because he started to question the usefulness. He's saying like, "Wait a minute, what's going on here?" And his family's like, "Oh, you're just a conspiracy. It's good for you, you know." So, but then he ended up, I don't know how, because they have a friendship, long standing, I guess, and they collaborated and put some great music together. Rebels is one, most definitely, and numerous others. Check out all of Van Morrison's latest work; it's really quite something. But
Hmm.
Rebels is the place where I would start. It's like one friggin' chord the whole way through the song. Dangerous, dangerous is another one, and he calls out Klaus Schwab, and who was the former head of the London Imperial College of London? You should know this.
Neil Ferguson,
Yes, indeed,
or
and
was
he was instrumental in getting the chess pieces all in place, and the governments of the world using, working with that as the gold standard, I guess. Like, trust the science. Neil Ferguson, and but he totally, his projections were
his computer models?
way, oh god, so far off. And AI, that's another good one. How politicized or corrupt is science? How they're driven by greed and political power, and it really fudges around that one in a big way. So, but check that out, folks. Yes, indeed. And I don't know if you want to wrap up Chatham House, if just in a few brief words, what you can say regarding regarding Mark Carney, his role at the Bank of England, and they did not fare too well under his tenure. What can we expect to see sort of impact, courtesy of him at the helm, essentially, over the next few years via Canada?
Yeah, it's well, I mean, he's a banker. He started his career at Goldman. He started his career at Goldman Sachs. So he is very much in bed with the financial elite of the world. So I would expect to see rollouts of things like digital money, more tying of bank accounts to biometrics, fingerprints, iris scans, facial recognition software, probably more tomfoolery with regards to people's access to their bank accounts, depending on where they're spending their money and what kind of opinions they're voicing online. I think we're going to see more. rollout of the agendas that we're all familiar with, that we have been studying, the technocratic digital takeover of our lives, the increase of surveillance, monitoring, tracking, tracing, databasing of everything that we do, think, say, every place we go, everything we buy. It's just gonna. I don't think he's gonna do anything that isn't totally in line with that whole ultimate agenda of total control. So yeah, I'm afraid I don't have anything more optimistic or hopeful to add. Other than that, I think he's a total bought and paid for pawn. He's under the control of the people who run this shit show, and pardon my language, but I think that's what we're in store for. That's all I really got to say about it. I don't actually follow too closely current events. I'm very much off the hamster wheel of all of that, and focus mainly on reading and looking more to the past. I will read modern books like the one I'm reading at the minute, the End Game. This is 2021. The Vernon Coleman book
Oh,
is all
right.
about Agenda 21, and
Yeah.
so I will read modern books, but if it comes to like current events and the latest thing that just happened and the latest headlines, I'm not the best person to ask.
I'm totally down with that. I've been backing away from engaging on that level myself, and just focusing, as I was touching on earlier, that's the fire in the belly, and
Yeah.
the musical, the relationship with music and the muse, and it's the way that connecting with what stream of consciousness, what the little voice inside your head, where it's willing to take you. It's been doing it my whole life. Frankly, it's just I've written a number of songs over the years, but I've been pretty lazy and undisciplined. So there is some tragedy to my personal story on that front. But it's great to see. It's like it's never too late to say never. So having a lot of fun here, and I hope you continue to as well. Keep up the good fight. I'm sure that Alan, uh, he was not a big fan of karma or reincarnation. He was, but it's very scientific, really, and and as far as I can tell, big time, hugely.
Mhm.
So uh, I'm pretty sure he's in a good place, and we'll meet again. We will all meet again. Is my but it's my take on things. With karma, for every action there's a reaction of equal yet opposite effect. It's
Mhm.
What is that? That's a law of motion, one of Newton's first, second laws of motion. And then with reincarnation from a scientific standpoint, and that's not even looking at these NDE testimonies, which I'm very
Right.
much intrigued by. Most definitely, it's kind of like we, but energy is neither created nor destroyed, but rather to simply find itself endlessly transformed. It's changing itself. So we drop the body, and we're, in a Gnostic sense, we are liberated from this earthly realm. Although we are here for a
Mhm.
purpose, and as far as I can tell, the only purpose is to help others. That's it, man. That's it. Because we got to break away from the whole selfish thing. I don't
Yeah.
know, addiction or what exactly. So more sex, more food, more self indulgence. It's
More Netflix.
exactly. So just reaching out and helping people wherever we can, and that's one of the reasons we pursue this. What would Robin Hood do? Ethos and philosophy in earnest. Thank you so much. Hey, reviews, we're gonna let you go. Sail on out of here. We'll be in touch again. Definitely hit you up with the archived version of what we've put together here. And it's been a huge pleasure. I hope you've had a great time
Yep.
as well. Just Sonia, any closing thoughts or comments in brief?
Um,
Galacticfire.com.
keep on sailing.
All right. You've overshot the mark here by
Yeah.
darn near not an hour entirely, but hopefully everyone out there listening has had a great journey as well.
Yes.
Nick,
Thank you.
final word goes to you, my friend. Love the library, by the way. That's
Yeah,
just
thanks for
amazing.
having me. It's
Yeah.
been a lot of fun. I think it's great what you guys are doing, and I really enjoy having these kinds of conversations, spending time with other like-minded free thinking, curious individuals, building these relationships and establishing these connections and putting our voices out there is a really great thing to be doing with our lives. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, every little effort towards the direction of the good is counted. It is sort of uh, embedded in the fabric of reality, and it all matters. So thanks for having me on.
We'll talk again soon, my friend. Enjoy your weekend.
Right on.
Good night.
Right.
No.
So, wow. We'll let him sail on out of here. I mean, it's crazy what the time that we're looking at there via the UK. He really, went far and above the required, what we initially thought that we do. And the guy, 38 years old, and he's styling, man. He's doing such a great job. I only just recently found out about the whole cutting through the matrix angle. I'm so glad that someone of his stature and caliber and character has managed to step up and help to support Melissa and the work that she's been doing as part of her late husband's legacy. Alan was I think he probably held Canadian citizenship, but I would put him in my book of history's Canadian heroes and greats. Definitely in my book. So that'd be kind of cool to make a list. People like within the pop or entertainment world, academics, uh, politicians. Oof, not too many of those, unfortunately. Not too many. So uh, and beyond, I suppose, educators, uh, literary figures and whatnot. Terry Fox, clearly, Gretzky, obviously, Michael J. Fox. But I mean, Terry Fox was special, clearly. So, but Alan, very, very special and unique. Uh, with the opportunity that he saw, and I didn't realize he was so young. Actually, he passed away at the age where I almost find myself now, believe it or not. So, yeah, fire in the belly, folks, and don't let time or your life just pass you by. We've done too much of that here through the years. Yeah, maybe not prioritizing in the way that we should necessarily. Uh, we have a lot of books as well. We never mentioned that to Nick, but I mean, get into a bit of a, if you call it, dick waving contest or what exactly. Who the hell really cares? You do it all in fun, clearly. But I bet we got to have close to 1,000 books just on this location alone. A whole range of various topics. Not that I really read too many of them, as to the extent that one should. It's more a case of having them around, looking at them, touching them. Sometimes been working on better disciplining myself and taking the time to really get away from the social media, the YouTube downloads, and even podcasts in some ways, I suppose, and cracking open the paperbacks or the hardcovers as they find themselves here. So conspiracy, science, health, pop culture, everything pretty much you can imagine. I mean, there's so many areas of life, fascinating topics to explore with all various people that have you know been a part of human history to this point in time. So, having said this, though, Pirate One Radio at Proton Mail livestreams.com is our main email address. And we always appreciate the PayPal support and donations that people offer us if it's within your means. Patreon support, you can sign up for free. Merchandise via galacticfire.com and beyond. T-shirts, coffee mugs, or what have you. Digital love. I've got my own musical uploads as well too. If people would like to lend an ear, check out some of the tunes that have been recorded, multi-tracked mix of covers and originals throughout the years. By all means, let us know. Make a little donation to PayPal or what have you. Just get thinking a little bit outside the box as far as how you can support or engage the work that we've been doing here for the past 10 years, essentially, folks. So hope everyone enjoys their weekend, obviously, and finds it productive and fruitful. Get the rest and recuperation or relaxation, rejuvenation that we all really deserve and need. Nobody ever said life was going to be easy, did they? Having said all this, on behalf of Captain Long John Sinclair and the rest of the crew here down in Skullport Harbor, until we meet again via these high, often all too intrepid digital seas, I'm your host, as always, show's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder, reminding you, keep your ear to the ground and eyes to the sky. Tally-ho!
Aye now, there we be. Having carefully looked over each of our navigation panel instruments, checking every level, switch, dial, cable, knob, and pulley, by all accounts and indications, we indeed see it's time once again to drop anchor inside Mystic Bay, draw an end to yet another week of World Pirate Radio Live. Remember, if you're looking for a little more animated online action, keep in mind we've likely got yet another great free-flowing Rogues Gallery after show coming up for the next hour in one of our more premium exclusive and remote digital underground online pirate hideaways. Also, if you yourself have a new, novel, intriguing, or otherwise underreported idea, unique individual, or pressing item in mind, be sure to either drop us a line directly over on WPRPN.com or fire us a quick email via PirateOneRadio@ProtonMail.com. We're always open to exploring fresh creative suggestions, intriguing guest ideas, cutting-edge discussion topics, and captivating themes. Remember, WPRPN.com member site subdomain links are also always available. Great for artists, musicians, podcasters, bloggers, social media personalities, or pretty much just any old land lover looking to boost their online visibility, presence, and reach. Basic personal profile accounts can be launched for just $60 per year. Staking your claim now helps not only strengthen you and the network, we're also looking out for the little guy. That's right, folks. As much as half of all WPRPN's profits are redirected right back into the hands of the people who really need it most. Community charity. After all, we are the Robin Hood. You can further embark on your own personal pirate journey by either liking, sharing, commenting on, subscribing to, or just following us
via virtually any mainstream social media platform, including Twitter, Facebook,
Gab,
or Minds.com. So don't forget to become engaged. Until we meet again out on the high digital seas, I'm your host as always, the ship's Chief Communications Officer, Jaffe Ryder. Tally-ho.